Hello, everyone. Welcome to Making the Cut. And in this series, we are going to be doing Launch Your Line. So if you want to launch a line and you don't want to waste tens of thousands of dollars, watch these episodes. A lot of people on Instagram and YouTube and all sorts of channels are talking about, how to launch $1 million brand or become $1 billion brand. And I have yet to meet somebody that's become a gazillion-dollar brand overnight. Actually, it wasn't necessarily overnight, but they went up really, really fast. It's probably about 15 years ago. You guys remember them. They were the toques, and they were animal toques. So they were lions or cats or whatever. They're so fun fur, and then the little paws came down. One hit wonder. They did super great. They did absolutely amazing, but they didn't follow up with anything. So in this class, if you have an idea and you want to launch a brand, whether it be in apparel, in lifestyle, in homewares, jewelry, we are going to go through everything from incorporating to bookkeeping, which I get through in the first 15 minutes because it's seriously the boring stuff, to getting your ideas and your thoughts and your concepts out from your head onto paper. It doesn't matter if you've ever drawn before or not. Does not matter. I've got students that have gone through this that have created their line with stick figures and triangle and square shapes. The point of this isn't becoming Yves Saint Laurent. The point is knowing how many styles you are going to have in your collection that you're going to launch with, how much that's going to cost you, and therefore knowing what to cut before you actually spend a dime. You're going to learn how to source pattern makers, factories, craftsmen, jewelers, jewelry smiths. If you're doing a jewelry line, you're going to be able to contact factories overseas and domestic in the city you live, wherever you're at. I'm going to teach you how to source this. You can start a line after taking this course or this series or whatever you want to call it for $500, for $5,000, for $50,000, or for $500,000. This is very empowering information. So let's get going. First things first, we are going to talk about your through line. So what is a through line? These are some of the sketches from our previous students. So, this person obviously went to some form of fashion design school. It was actually really cool sketches, but I'm going to show you some other ones as we go along. So part one is product development, inspiration, and execution. So before you even incorporate, before you think about money, before you think about any of these things, you've got to think about what is it inspiring you to make, put that on paper, and then how are you going to execute it? So product development is basically what that falls under. All right. So there's something called a through line. Think of this as your brand's DNA. How are you going to find out what your through line is? Start with a mood board. Get all the magazines you possibly can. Buy some magazines, get old magazines, get new magazines. But start ripping out things that resonate with you. Doesn't have to be, clothing if you're doing an apparel line. Doesn't have to be jewelry. Doesn't have to be any of these things. It can be anything that is moving something inside you in regards to the business you want to do and the brand you want to create. So, for example, my mood board is behind me. There's a project that I'm working on called Waist Up. It's near and dear to my heart. And I've got all sorts of things on my mood board that are the DNA of Waist Up. So there's no right or wrong. There's no grading in this. You've got to put your heart and soul into this mood board, because when you start creating your line, you're going to put it up against this mood board to see if it belongs. It's actually the most important thing, and it's a process that most people skip, but it's very important. We're also going to have examples of different mood boards for you guys so that you can see them. Again, there's no good or bad, but you can see that there's a cohesive through line that goes through a collection. And what that means is every collection tells a story, and no different than a film. So in a movie, a through line connects the theme and the plot. Same thing in a novel. You can have an 800-page book, but the through line you can summarize in a sentence or two. In a brand, it's the exact same thing. So one of the best examples of a brand and someone that's done a phenomenal job with a through line is Diane von Furstenberg. Her ads, her brand, everything is so on point. We've got the link here, but there's an ad she has of a model walking through the forest, capturing leaves. It captures the inspiration for her season, for the season that this ad was for. The natural form of the woman's body has always been the signature DNA for Diane von Furstenberg. And you see that completely through her brand all the time. So there's a short video. It's a minute and a half. We've got the link there. I highly recommend you take a look at it. We've also got some examples of mood boards here. There's no right or wrong, but you see in Dana's where her inspiration is coming from. A lot of family. She was doing a kids line. A lot of family, a lot of shapes. There's a lot of ocean, but it's the blues and it's the relaxed. Same thing goes for Tara. So lots of blues, lots of ocean, lots of sailing, everything. A lot has to do with water, a lot of corals, rocks, family. Another brand I want to talk about that's got amazing DNA, obviously has lasted for years and years and decades, is Levi's. The brand has always stayed true to its DNA, decade after decade. To stay true to your DNA, you really have to know your DNA. But each year, it draws nuanced inspiration from different places. So their advertisements feature images of cattle ranches to taglines like "The world was not built by men in suits" and "Life is calling, go forth." These all convey the essence of the brand, the working man, rich or poor, who lavishes in all aspects of life. Don't even get me going on Ralph Lauren. The man's a genius when it comes to branding. So I'm going to put in some links that are amazing for Ralph Lauren. Of course, I think watching the documentary Being Ralph is a must. Phenomenal what that man's built. Incredible. Because when you walk into his store, any store, you see that through line and you see yourself in the lifestyle, because what he's built is a lifestyle brand. It's not just clothing and it's not just homewares. So getting into brand DNA, why a mood board? I was consulting for McCarroll, who was Project Runway Season One winner, and I personally think absolutely the most charming. He was fantastic, and his collection that won Project Runway Season One was amazing. It deserved to win. It was, you felt the story on the runway. Again, I've got a link for you on YouTube. And I consulted him in 2000 and everything was very floaty and whimsical. His colors had a certain airiness to it. This was his collection that he did for New York Fashion Week. His mood board was filled with images of sky, parachutes, air balloons from the 1950s to the 2000s. All of his ideas that made it to production were judged against that mood board to determine whether they belonged in the line. So what that means is that if Jay found fabric or came up with a design that he wanted to add in, he put it up against the mood board to see if it worked, if it fit in, if it was part of the story. And this really matters when you're developing a brand. When you see someone wearing a Donna Karan dress or a Diane von Furstenberg dress or a Chanel jacket, a Ralph Lauren jacket, you know instinctively who the designer is. You know who the brand is. And that's because they know their DNA. And it's in every absolute fiber of the entire line. So this is the DNA. This is nailing the brand, the essence of what you stand for. And this is the first and most important step to becoming a great designer, company, and brand. It is also the reason your customer will find you over and over again. Customers are loyal to brands. That doesn't change as much as e-commerce is changing and how people are shopping. They say all these things, but when a brand really knows who they are and stays true to their brand, your customers will find you. Especially if you're telling your story, your customer who is going to relate, you'll nail it. All right, part 2, your line. What should your line contain? Depending on what you're making, women's, men's, hats, scarves, dog apparel, lifestyle, lingerie, swimwear. A line should consist of, to start, approximately 12 pieces. Doesn't mean you're going to make 12 pieces, but it should consist of 12 pieces on paper. So here's some work from another student. I think it's amazing.
Bye.